Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Candidate Forum for Mayor, the City of Aurora. Being sponsored by the Aurora Area Chapter of the League of Women Voters. I'd like to thank the Aurora Public Library for hosting tonight's event. Thank you to the Aurora residents who are joining us this evening, both in person and those joining us on Zoom. The Zoom link can be accessed through the library's website. It is my honor to be tonight's moderator. I'm sure you don't remember me, but I moderated the Mayoral Forum 4 years ago, of course, over Zoom because of COVID. My name is Barbara Young. I'm an attorney, a resident of LaGrange, and a longtime member of the LaGrange Area League. I do not live in Aurora, and I cannot vote in this race. I have been trained by the League of Women Voters to serve as a moderator and to conduct candidate forums. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization founded in 1920 that encourages informed and active participation by citizens in government. We do not support or oppose any candidate for office. The League sponsors events such as this one so that voters are educated and informed about where candidates stand on issues. The mayoral candidates tonight are the incumbent Mayor Richard Irvin and Alderman at Large John Lesh. We are following league rules for the forum tonight. This means that a forum, which is very different than a debate, will require that the candidates do not engage with each other. Instead, the questions will be posed by me, the moderator, and the candidates will respond only to me and to you, the public. This is an opportunity for you to share your answers with the attendees, not to talk about or to your opponent. We request that you adhere to this important rule. The candidates will each have 1 minute to present an opening statement alphabetically. They will each have up to 1 minute to respond to questions. There are several pre-prepared questions from the league, and we also anticipate that you, the audience members, will be submitting questions. League members will be reviewing those questions, both for relevance and to avoid duplication, and also for expediency of time. We will rotate, take turns, so both candidates will have an opportunity to answer questions first or second. The candidates may ask me to repeat the question if necessary. After the question and answer portion of the forum, each candidate will have an opportunity to make a closing statement, which I think will expand to 2 minutes. Our timekeeper will keep us on track in the interest of time and fairness. They're sitting up front, and they will be given a warning sign at 30 seconds and then a stop sign. The candidates should wind down their responses at the 30-second warning and stop speaking when the stop sign appears, although I will allow them to complete their last sentence. So now we're going to begin. So we're going to begin with the opening statements, 1 minute each. We're going to begin with candidate Irvin.
Good evening. Good evening. First of all, thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum tonight. It's very important that the job that you do to make sure our community is informed about the next election. I'm born and raised in Aurora. I believe this city. I ran for mayor 8 years ago and was elected because I wanted to make a difference. I made a promise to myself, made a promise to God when I was in war and first Gulf War, that if I made it out of there as I almost died, the Scud missile coming my direction, that I'd spend the rest of my life in public service. And of course, I did not die. I made it out of that war, but immediately upon leaving the military, I immediately started working to make sure that I gave back to the community. I immediately started working to make sure I was a public servant. First, as a community-based prosecutor right here in Aurora, and second as an alderman for 10 years, and then as mayor, first Black mayor in 185 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, opening statement from candidate Lesh.
I want to thank the league for hosting this forum and the Aurora community for coming out and participating in our democratic process. I'm Alderman John Lash. I'm running for mayor of our city, and I'm asking for your vote on April 1st. I'm a former East Aurora school board member, former naval intelligence analyst who served in the Middle East, a graduate of Illinois State University, and a community organizer, union carpenter. I'm the one alderman who's voted against the $58 million casino tip and numerous pay-to-play schemes. Tonight, I want to share my vision for Aurora. My administration's top priority will be bringing better paying living wage jobs to our city. I will be a full-time mayor, working towards a continued success downtown by supporting the Paramount and small businesses, and I will work immediately to restore civility and ethics in City Hall and improve communication with Aurora residents. Aurora is stronger when we're working together, and that will be my focus as our next mayor. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to begin the question and answer portion, and I'm going to begin with the questions that were prepared by the league. Question number 1, we'll begin with candidate Lesh. Please state your position on the proposed City of Lights Center, and if you support it, how would the city fund it?
That's an excellent question. So first of all, I have supported the expansion of downtown River Edge Park. And I want to see that succeed. I want to continue to support the Paramount and their other theaters. I am currently not supporting the City of Light Center, and I voted against the phase 2 distribution of money. And the reason is, if you look at it, so this, for those who are not familiar, this is a 4,000 person concert venue that'll be on Lake Street. And it's going to cost roughly $120 million. I assume it'll cost a lot more. But right now, the other 4,000 person concert venue in the state of Illinois is looking at selling because they're not making enough money. And I figured that if they're right off the interstate, adjacent to the airport, and close to 2.6 million residents in the city of Chicago, and they're not making it, I think we need to better analyze that plan. I'll be making data-driven decisions to continue to support downtown entertainment and increase foot traffic in our city. Thank you.
Candidate Urban, your position on the City of Light Center.
This will be iconic for the city of Aurora. And yes, it's going to be $100 million development. And we in Aurora are worth that. Question is, how do we pay for something like this? Well, we pay for it by the revenues that we generate based on this facility running. And there'll be revenues for ticket sales, food and beverage, alcohol, hotels, and all the revenue streams that come in that pay for things like this. Now we did a study, and it was a study from a company that do these things around the country. And they said that it would be successful in the city of Aurora. I can't speak for other cities and why they're not successful, but here in Aurora, we are successful with everything we do. Our Paramount is the #1 prescribed theater in the entire country. And we know that this will be successful in the city of Aurora, and we deserve something just like this.
Thank you. Question number 2, we're going to begin with candidate Urban. What is your vision for continued development in downtown Aurora?
My vision for continued development is just what we've done over the last 8 years. We've added $2 billion worth of value to our EAD. Everybody that owns a house here in Aurora is now worth more. And at the same time, we've reduced our property tax rate by 20% over the last 8 years. We're able to attract 3,000 brand new jobs in the city, 3,000. And on top of that, we've increased the level of revenue, the income that the average person makes by almost 20%. We have to keep developing our downtown. It was been dead for decades. It's been dead for generations. This is the first time in generations where you see people walking their dog downtown, jogging, having a good time, just enjoying it. I was down here Saturday night in the new restaurant Giardino. It was packed with a waiting line. And that's how it is for every brand new restaurant. We bought 5 new ones. We got another 3 in line to open up. Matter of fact, we just did a ribbon cutting for brand new apartments today. We have to keep moving Aurora forward, taking us to the next level. And all this does expands the tax base, so we're able to reduce your property tax on your home.
Candidate Lesh, same question.
So I'm going to continue to support the events and entertainment that are bringing foot traffic downtown. As I've already said, I don't support the City of Light Center. If Rosemont isn't making it, I find it hard to believe that we would too. We need more parking So the area north of River Edge Park needs to be parking. We're expanding River Edge. There's going to be more people looking for parking spaces. I will scrap the West Bank apartments and keep that parking lot open because we need it. I would like to see the old post office, SciTech, become a multi-use art space, potentially with wine bar and gallery, similar to Batavia Water Street Studios. I also think that instead of luxury apartments, pricing people out of their homes, I want to keep the riverfront open and go back to a plan to turn that area north of that into a nature center. And additionally, I think that instead of the multi-million-dollar TIF deals that favor politically connected developers, I'll support more local downtown businesses and people that are from here, because I believe our community is more likely to support them.
Okay, next question. Again, we begin with candidate left. How will you prioritize city services if federal funding for current programs decreases significantly?
That's an excellent question. So first of all, we're going to have to look at the budget and assess where things are. This is also important. A lot of people probably don't know this, but we're currently losing $4.3 million of federal funding because our census was undercounted. And because of the current president and ICE on our streets, it's going to be hard to make people feel safe and to be recounted. But I'm going to pursue every federal and state grant dollar. I want to maintain a positive relationship with the governor of the state of Illinois to work to fight for every dollar that we can bring to our city. I'm a big advocate for green building. I want to pursue funding in the climate bank to help make people's homes more energy efficient. And again, I've already mentioned the census recount. I think that's very important to make our community feel safe and go after those dollars. As an alderman, as your mayor, I'm going to support that initiative. Thank you.
Candidate Urban?
We were wholly undercounted in 2020. So I immediately commissioned a recount for the city of Aurora. And to do this recount, we've got to be very effective and surgical about how we make it happen. We went out myself personally, knocking on doors, making sure people answered the census questions and making sure that, we got what's due to us. The simple fact is, it was the middle of COVID. And, the census takers weren't knocking on doors. They were going up to houses, not, actually counting individuals that were inside. We recognized that was wrong and immediately stepped up and said, we've got to do it. And we've done everything we need to make sure we, get the census rolling. Now we have a new administration with new leadership. And I've already called to Washington, D.C. and made sure that we were in line to make sure we get our census going again very soon. Matter of fact, I'm going to be flying to D.C. in May to make sure that we get what's due to us. The fact is, the governor doesn't give us federal funding. The federal government gives us federal funding. And we've got to have a relationship with both our federal and state government to make sure that we get what Aurora needs.
Candidate Urban, next question. What measures will you take to increase the amount of affordable housing in Aurora?
So about a year ago, I commissioned an affordable housing study. And this study says that there are different types of affordable housing. There's public housing, like Aurora Housing Authority. There's affordable housing through HUD. And there's housing that's affordable just because the average person can afford it, and of course, market rate housing. So the only way to build affordable housing is to get housing tax credits from the state of Illinois, from IDA. There is no other way to build affordable housing. To build affordable housing costs the same exact amount of money to build market rate housing, exact same. So no developer is going to come in and build unless there is some incentive. And the incentive are these tax credits. I and my team went down to speak with HUD and IDA just 3 weeks ago. And we said, look, Aurora's the second largest city in the state. We need to make sure we are aligned for these tax credit deals. Now, normally a city our size only gives us one deal a year. I said, that's unacceptable. We need 3 deals or more a year because we've got a demand. The Aurora Housing Authority just did a wonderful development that I supported, where 70 homes for seniors, because all our baby boomers are aging at the same time, so we need housing. And 1,000 people were in line for those 70 houses. So that lets us know we have a demand.
Candidate Lesh, what would you do to increase affordable housing?
So first is, again, some of it's going to depend on the CDBG funding that's coming in from the federal government. But I want to work with a nonprofit builder, Habitat for Humanity. They are the banker, they're the developer, and they're also the builder. And they work to make sure that people can get in a house at 30% of their income. And I think that this is very important. They have a very high success rate, 97% success rate here in the Fox Valley. We have a lot of small open lots in our city that are city owned that we can turn into affordable tiny homes. This is something that I'm going to continue to look at, but I've also talked a lot about green building and tapping into the Illinois Climate Bank, and that'll help us pool more resources into this effort to make more affordable housing. I've also voted against some of the luxury apartments where we as taxpayers have subsidized $12.5 million into the DAC development on the East Bank. Those are costing $1,700 to $2,300 per month. That is not affordable. That's not the direction that we need to go.
Okay, next question, beginning with candidate Lasher. What is your position on tax incentives for developments? How will you balance the short-term loss of tax revenue with the long-term potential for economic growth in TIF districts?
So in general, I view TIF districts as sweetheart deal for developers. For those people who aren't familiar, we basically draw a box called a TIF zone around a piece of property. And instead of the taxes going to the schools, going to the city, going to the library, they go into the developer's pocket to redevelop that property. They're sweetheart deals. Unfortunately, it is going to require state legislation to fix it because what developers do is pit communities against each other, and that needs to stop. But at the local level, I'm not going to be using TIFs because they siphon so much money out of our school districts. I voted against the river buying, and of course, I already mentioned the $58 million casino TIF and a cross-street TIF. Instead, we're going to have to work with developers that will come in, take the building for free, perhaps. I'm okay with some incentive to develop the first floor, start making a profit, and then slowly start to develop. We've seen other communities do this. We can do this here in Aurora, and again, trying to give preference to local businesses.
Candidate Irvin, same question.
But TIF is like a tool. It's like a hammer. You use a hammer incorrectly, it's a weapon. But if you use it correctly, you can build a house. Just like a TIF. If you use a TIF correctly, you can build progress. You can build prosperity. If we had not used TIFs, Hobbs would not be redeveloped in beautiful apartments and restaurants. If we had not used TIFs, 110 Cross would have not been developed. If we had not used TIFs, the Terminal Building and Keystone Building would not have been developed. If we had not used TIFs, we wouldn't have been able to do the DAC development. Now, these are very important developments because it goes to the tax base. Now, affordable housing is very important, but affordable housing doesn't drive our economy. Market rate housing does. We need people with disposable income that actually make a difference in the long-term economy so we can reduce your taxes and give us extra dollars to be able to build affordable housing, or at least give incentives to build affordable housing. The reality is we've got to use our incentives. There are many mayors that have the same philosophy. Let's just not use anything. And guess what? We didn't have any development in this city for generations.
Next question, candidate Irvin, switching gears. What community-based initiatives would you support to reduce crime?
Well, we focused on 3 pillars in the city. SEE, safety, education, economy. And all those things working together is what reduce crime. We have the strongest and largest police department in our history, not just paramilitary riding around waiting for something to happen, being reactive. They're out being community-based police officers, being proactive in how they address crime, getting to know our community members. And because of it, we've got the lowest crime rate in Aurora that we've seen since the 80s, year after year after year consecutive. We're the second largest city in the state of Illinois. And last year we only had 1 violent murder, and that was domestic, that we couldn't control. It wasn't gang violence, and we immediately made an arrest. We will continue to support our police department, which our opponent says is corrupt. You know, we'll continue to make sure we do what we need in the neighborhoods and start community groups throughout our community to address our issues. Right now, years ago, the issue used to be how many murders we had a week. Right now, the issues in Aurora, speeding and traffic. I'll take that over the murders that we had years ago. We're better today, and we're going to get better as we grow.
Candidate Lesh, how are you going to reduce crime?
The best crime prevention is a good paying job. Parents need, if they're earning living wage jobs, to be home to spend time with their kids. And a strong local economy, in my opinion, is the best way to prevent crime. We need a multi-pronged approach. One of the successful methods used by former Mayor Wisner to move Aurora to a place of 0 homicides was to adequately fund youth services. And I will take the same proven crime prevention method effort. I want to see us start to pool together resources from the library, Fox Valley Park District, nonprofits, our schools, and the city, all working together to build more overlapping after school programs so kids have a safe place to go after school. I also want to see us relieve the burden on police by working to make some of our unsafe intersections a lot better, like the dangerous S curves on Eola and Autumn Grove Circle, and Filter Road. I think that that will reduce the amount of call time spent on traffic accidents and provide more time for safety. Thank you.
Okay, now I have a question that's just for candidate Lesh, and that is, what infrastructure projects in your ward need immediate attention?
So I'm an at-large alderperson and do not serve one ward, but instead serve the whole city. The infrastructure projects that I think are near completion and that I want to see addressed is the Orchard Road Sound Wall. It's close, but they're putting a SSA requirement to close the gap on a couple $100,000. We can fund that with riverboat money. I do think that there might be an opportunity to make that wall a little bit taller to make it more effective, but also include insulation instead of concrete. So I would want our engineering department to look at that. I'm very concerned about the intersection of Eola Road and Ogden Avenue, where a lot of parents are concerned about getting their kids to and from school safely. We have successfully gone out, or not successfully, but we've applied for a $3 million grant to make a protective barrier along that way. But I want to look at that analysis very closely. That's important to me. I mentioned the dangerous curves at Autumn Grove and Filter Road. And also I think we need to, I would work with the ward alder people.
And I will ask candidate Urban, since he did answer citywide, do you want to address that question?
Absolutely. You know, go ahead, ask that question.
Okay. What infrastructure projects
All right.
need
I got
immediate
you.
attention?
Immediate attention. So the infrastructure projects that we've done throughout the city of Aurora, new roads, new bridges, the infrastructure, we have solidified the infrastructure in the city to be able to build. There's no way in the world we would have been able to build $2 billion worth of value of DAV in this city and reduce our property tax unless we had the infrastructure needed. You know, I work with my traffic engineers all the time to make sure that we're addressing the roads and streets in every community throughout the city. As a matter of fact, talking about the wall, the sound barrier on Orchard Road, we are using casino funds to pay for that. It's called Alderman Ward funds. That's where the casino funds go to. And it's hard to say we want to use casino funds, but we don't support the brand new casino that we're building, $360 million casino resort that's bringing thousands of union jobs to the city. That'll bring hundreds of permanent jobs. That'll double the number of jobs. We did that. This administration jumped on an airplane and went out to Penn Gaming and said, we need you to make a bigger investment in Aurora. And they invested $360 million. That means something, and that's going to spur even more development in that corridor.
And before I ask the next question, I'm going to ask the lead vetting table to bring me some more questions because I only have a couple. Okay, so the next question, beginning with candidate Urban, is how will you address public transit and traffic congestion in growing areas?
You know, we have a number of growing areas. We are thinking about our own success over the last 8 years. With all this growth we've got in the city, if you put a pin in a map at any point in the city, we've got development going on. Whether it's down south at Del Webb, whether it's up north at the casino, whether it's out west on Prairie and Indian Trail, whether it's in our downtown, whether it's the redevelopment of the open house that sat empty and dilapidated for a quarter of a century. One of the best things that we ever did to that neighborhood. You know, we're going to keep growing. And we've got to address our infrastructure by expanding our roads. Matter of fact, we're doing that on both Filter and Farnsworth as we build a new casino. But we had always had plans to expand that as we grow as a city. And as we build in our downtown, we improve our gateways into our city, whether it be Route 31 or whether it be New York Street. We put money aside simply to improve our gateways, to beautify them. So when people come into Aurora, driving our downtown to experience all the activity and the entertainment, they see beauty and they want to come back again and again.
Candidate Lesh, same question.
So, number one, I would like to work with PACE to modernize our public transportation system. If you look, you'll see a lot of PACE buses driving around nearly empty. That doesn't seem very efficient. I would like to see us modernize that by moving to more Uber style, easy to access via phone and app, or by making an email appointment, especially for senior citizens and low-income people that might need to get to their jobs, but senior citizens who need to get to their medical appointments. We've already got cane rides and rides for veterans, but I think that we need to expand it and make it more all-encompassing and to make it easier for people to access that public transportation. Additionally, this is one of the reasons that I'm opposed to some of the apartments that we're building, especially the new apartments. I'm okay with modernizing some of the old buildings, but we're adding congestion to our downtown area. We have the second largest population, enough to support some of those restaurants. The problem is people don't make enough money and can't afford to patronize those restaurants.
Okay, next question for candidate Lesh, and this is from the audience. Do you support a limit to campaign donations in city elections?
I absolutely support limits to campaign donations. I personally don't take any campaign donations from people doing business with the city of Aurora or corporate PACs or anybody seeking to buy influence from elected officials. I worked this fall with other people to put a referendum question on the ballot that would have given the voters of Aurora a chance to answer this question as well. Unfortunately, we did not get the required number of signatures. It was challenged, and that referendum question was not on the ballot. If elected mayor, I'll work to put it on the ballot. And I'll also work with the Aurora City Council to determine what cap we want to use, but somehow we've got to limit pay-to-play politics in the city of Aurora. It exists at every level of government. It exists in both political parties, and it needs to stop. If we want a government economy that works for everybody, we're going to have to reform how we run elections in the United States, and I'll start right here in the city of Aurora.
There are limitations on campaign donations. The state has rules. Matter of fact, the only way you even know that there's campaign donations, you have to file it with the state of Illinois Election Commission. So whenever someone says the urban campaign received a donation, that's because we tell it to the world. There is no pay to play.
Let's be professional.
Answering this question of the candidates and let them know.
These are John Lash supporters. These are the people that we have to deal with. So can I get a few more seconds? All right, thank you. Thank you. So the reality is this. You know, the Constitution of the United States of America, the Supreme Court, said that it was a person's and a business constitutional right to be able to donate to campaigns. It's their First Amendment right to be able to do that. So someone that says that they don't want someone to allow to do that, that means that they don't believe in the Constitution of the United States. That's un-American. The reality is this. You know, if someone that worked in Springfield, I didn't, but my opponent did, he could have made those changes there in Springfield. We have ample rules. And inside the city of Aurora, we have checks and balances. We have a purchasing a process that goes through employees, then it goes through the alderman, then it goes through the alderman at large, committee of the alderman at large, and the mayor doesn't even vote on it. So if he's suggesting that there's some type of pay-to-play or illegality going on, that means it starts with the city employees that work there for years. It's their job, the alderman and the committee of the whole.
Next question. Quick announcement. There is a recording of the forum, which will be on the library's YouTube channel within 48 hours. There's also going to be a recording on the League of Women Voters of Aurora YouTube channel. Okay, question 10, and we're going to begin with candidate Irvin. Last week, the Chicago Tribune reported that fear of ICE arrests is keeping immigrant customers at home and making it harder for immigrant-owned businesses in Aurora to stay open. As mayor, how will you support Aurora's undocumented residents who are increasingly fearful due to new federal administration?
As mayor of the city of Aurora, there is no determination of what a person's status is. Everybody who lives in Aurora is a resident of the city of Aurora. We will continue to support businesses and individuals in the city of Aurora as we always have, making sure we look out for their best interests, making sure we do what's necessary to make their quality of life good right here in the city of Aurora. Matter of fact, I was Small Business Mayor of the Year in 2019 by the U.S. Conference of Mayors because of my support for small businesses. And in Aurora, that means small Latino businesses. You know, we support our Latino community and we make sure that they have what they need. But as far as the jurisdiction of ICE, ICE has jurisdiction that has nothing to do with the city of Aurora, nothing at all. What we can do is just continue to do what we've always done and make sure that we provide services that every resident deserves and requires in the city of Aurora.
It's called the sanctuary city, Richard.
Candidate Lesh, next question.
With my time up. All right. What, 5 seconds? All right. Look up, sorry. So we're gonna have to, ladies, I'm gonna need you to have to do me a favor. Alderman Lash's people are being very rude and disruptive here. So if they're gonna keep doing that, I'm gonna ask that you have them removed from this forum so we can continue this civilly. Now,
Well, I would ask
well, you can go
that-
speak out the whole.
I would ask that everyone be respectful for a
Yes,
few reasons. Number one, you make it difficult for people to hear the candidate. Also, we're trying to make a recording. So the more that you talk, the less people, at home will be able to understand what the candidate's views are. So please be respectful. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, candidate Lush, same question.
First of all, I also want to work to restore civility in our city, and I would ask that people please hold your applause or heckling. I think that this is an important issue. First of all, I would want to analyze the data to find out if there's a downward economic trend happening in other communities, or if this is something tied to ICE and immigration. I don't want to dodge the question that although the Trust Act in Illinois essentially makes the state of Illinois a sanctuary state, meaning that the Aurora Police Department cannot coordinate with ICE on their searches and seizures and arrests. If it makes our city feel safer, I've already mentioned the $4.3 million that we're all losing because of being miscounted. If it makes our city feel safer to pass a local ordinance, I would be in favor of meeting with both the community members, holding public meetings, meeting with our legal department to see what can be done. Because we are all being impacted by this loss of $4.3 million, and it's something that I will pursue aggressively. Thank you.
Okay, next question, beginning with candidate Lush. What makes you the best person for the job?
So I have two qualities that have been present my whole life. One is that I'm very hardworking, and two is that I've always exuded strong leadership skills. By age 19, I was running Amoco Batavia West Amoco gas station as a station manager. By age 21, I had graduated at the top of my class in Naval Intelligence School and was running operations as part of a crisis action team in the Middle East, pursuing intelligence, going after Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, running Operation Desert Fox. I've always had strong leadership positions, and I think what we need is a strategic plan to bring better paying jobs, to increase household income in our city, to make sure that we all have a voice. And I do have a plan to do this. It's going to be a focus. I want to acknowledge the work of the previous two mayors to bring our downtown back to life, but to sustain these restaurants, people are going to have to make more money. And I will come up with that long-term steady plan to do so. Thank you.
Good question.
Okay, candidate Urban, what makes you the best person for the job?
I've been the mayor for the last 8 years. And when I took office in 2017, I said that I was going to represent every single person in the city, Black, white, Latino, Indian, Asian, even though I'm the first Black mayor. You know, that shouldn't matter. What matters is that we do what we need to do for every resident of the city. Over the last 8 years, I'll say this again, $2 billion worth of value. We've reinvigorated our downtown. We've reduced our property tax rate by 20%. We've increased the average salary because we keep talking about we need high-paying jobs. We see these restaurants full on Saturdays and on weekends and during the week. That means somebody's spending money at these restaurants and lending to our economy. You know, I am the best person for the job because I've shown that I have the leadership skills to get the job done. We've done more economic development in the last 7 years than all the mayors put together in the last 70. I don't just say that. There are buildings that sat empty for decades, generations, 60 and 70 years. They're full now and adding to the tax roll. Every single building that was empty is full in our downtown, and we're going to continue moving this forward.
Next question, beginning with candidate Urban. What are your top 2 priorities for Aurora?
Actually, 3 priorities, and they're pillars. SEE, safety, education, economy. You need all those 3 working together to make a functional city. Safety, because no one wants to live in a city that's not safe, that they can't raise their family and let the kids go outside and play in. We've got a strong police department that makes it safe. Education, no city has jurisdiction over education, but immediately when I came to office, I created the Education Commission, bringing all of our 6 school districts together, sharing best practices, ideas, and resources. And now our grade point averages are up. You know, our scores are up. Our graduation rates are up. The school when I started, the school I graduated from, East Aurora, was graduating 68% of the kids. Now they're graduating over 93 and still on the rise. So safety, education, and then economy. These high-paying jobs we keep talking about, it only happens if you attract businesses to the city. Those businesses only come if you provide incentive. And if it was as simple as going out and saying, developer, come, to the city and build, it would have happened decades ago, but it didn't happen decades ago. It happened under the urban administration. I've shown that I'm a leader, and I've shown that I can get the job done, and I want to continue being mayor of the city.
Candidate Lesh.
It's an excellent question, and I'm also going to hit three if I have enough time. Number one is ethics reform. We've already talked about that. That'll be a central focus of my first year in office. Number two, I've talked about it at length tonight, attracting better paying jobs. I want to, if Aurora qualifies for a workforce development hub to prepare us for the green collar economy. I want to work to bring more state and federal incentives and work with the Green Climate Grant to infuse more money into our local economy, make people's homes more energy efficient. So we're going to be training Aurora workers, Aurora residents for better paying jobs. Number three is financial stability. We've talked a lot about how much money has been spent downtown, and there's been some misleading information about property tax rates. I don't know about you, my taxes have gone up. And a lot of people don't know this, but the city is $518 million in debt. So I'm going to be looking at stabilizing our city, reducing the debt, and getting escalating property taxes under control.
Now going, candidate Lesh, I have a question. What is your proposed use for the former I don't know if it's MCA or WCA site on the west side? Why hasn't the city acquired this property?
In the fourth ward. So I don't have an intended use for that property, I'll just be honest. But if we are going to pursue a use for the property, one, I would like to see it be green space, public park, something to that effect. But I think working with the residents is the best way before pursuing any economic development. We need to work with the residents. We found out about the Apex Center, which is up in Batavia School District. The city council didn't hear anything about it. The community that it would impact didn't hear anything about it. So number one is to work with the community in that area to find out what they want to do with it. That's what the approach of the John Lash administration will use for that property and any future developments. Thank you.
Candidate Urban, your thoughts on the YMCA property?
We have to redevelop that property, put that property on the tax rolls some way, or create some environment in that area where it uplifts that particular community. The Y has been sitting there falling in ruin for years. I mean, I love the Y. I learned how to swim there. I spent my summers there being during daycare, but we have to move on into the future. And leadership is about making hard decisions. As mayor, I got to make hard decisions. I can't just run out. You're never going to make everybody happy. There's no way. So if you go to a community and say, what do you want to do? Half are going to say they want one thing, and half are going to say they want another thing. But as a leader, you have to make the determination of where we're going to go as a city and how to lead us there, and for the greater good, for the greatest number of people. So a lot of people didn't like the casino, but it's good for the city. A lot of people didn't want us to redevelop these old buildings that sat empty for generations in our downtown, but it's good for the city. A lot of people didn't support these restaurants, but guess what? It's good for the city. We want to continue to do things that are good for the city. I'll continue to lead us in that direction.
Candidate Urban, how do you plan to support the children in Aurora and improve education?
Well, as I said, the Education Commission is one of the things that we did. Create an Education Commission, bringing all our school districts together, all our superintendents and workforce development specialists and businesses. So not just help to educate them now, but to make it so when they finish high school and they go to college, or they get a certificate, or they decide that they want to be a laborer and join a union, they're prepared. We have a workforce development plan that's in existence right now that's working. And I didn't stop there. I said, we want to give our young people an opportunity to have a voice in everything we do. So I created the Youth Commission. So we have a youth commission where all the best and brightest high school students from every high school in the city of Aurora come together and talk about programs on how to make Aurora better for the youth. So when they have gone off to college, or they go to college locally, they can come back and have one of those high-paying jobs. This doesn't work unless you attract those high-paying jobs here for them. You can't train people for jobs that aren't even here. And you can't bring jobs here unless you provide incentive and create an environment for success in the city of Aurora.
Candidate Lesh, same question.
I feel like between the two of us, I've probably done the most for education. I was a former East Aurora school board member. And one of the people who was an early supporter of getting buses, the historic move in our city, for students on the east side. We also got a long-term superintendent contract after a tumultuous 3-year period with interim superintendents. Education is not the primary function of the city of Aurora, but I do want to make sure that we're working with all of our schools and make sure that we're giving all of our kids safe passages to school. I've mentioned filling in sidewalks to make that happen. I've already mentioned the issue in District 204 between Wabanzi and Fisher Middle School and parents' concerns about that intersection. I've talked about the workforce development hub that I want to partner with Wabanzi. And when it comes to tech jobs, if we're able to pursue tech jobs, which will also be high-paying jobs, we're going to have to work with Aurora University and Wabanzi on that front as well. And I've talked a little bit about after-school programs, which I'll support, but finally, I've mentioned and hit home on tips. Time's up.
Okay. Next question, beginning with, excuse me, candidate Lesh, and it is kind of long, so bear with me. The new casino plus new data center out on Farnsworth Filter Church is costing right now from AT&T to move cables and infrastructure. NICOR and ComEd will have the same issue. How to calculate the shared responsibility and build a city accordingly. Council met on February 10th and February 18th. The minutes are online from legistar.com to approve paying AT&T a deposit of up to $250,000. Question: who is paying for the data center's utility bills? And are you all in for this data center, edge data center? And will you encourage more data centers in the future?
So I've supported the data center. They're paying their utility bills. We're gaining the utility tax on that, and it is a significant amount of revenue. I did also ask what their measures were because they're energy hogs to go carbon free. That was a very long question, by the way. I'm going to try and stick to the answer. I also voted against giving AT&T the $250,000. I think I was the only no vote on that. I feel like if it's their cable, they should pay for it. They're going to benefit from it. And I'll talk briefly about high-speed public access broadband, which will be a goal of my administration. The Wisner administration had started to build a ring around the city. I don't know what the status of it currently is. I've tried to get information about it, but I want to work to tap into the $1.4 million of BEAD money and work with the governor's office to do that, to expand public access broadband. If you look at Chattanooga, Tennessee, they have the fastest broadband, most affordable in every neighborhood, and they also are getting all the tech companies. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Urban, same question.
We're a couple months away from implementing a citywide broadband plan, internet for all throughout the city. Capping our internet, fast speed internet at a level where everybody in the city can afford it. And that's why all these data companies are coming, because of our extensive fiber optic network that we have in the city. Over 200 square miles of fiber optic network. And I appreciate my opponent saying that he supported the data centers coming to the city. This administration is the one that went out and got those data centers. Matter of fact, we did an expansion of the data center at Cyrus One on Eola, and we brought 2 data centers to the city, Edge, and another Cyrus One data center that will house Google and Facebook and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The data centers are the gift that keep on giving. That $250,000 from AT&T, we're not going to have to pay that. We're going to force AT&T to pay that. The only reason we agreed to that is to move the project along, because lawyers and law take a long time. If we would have got that in court, we would have slowed the casino project up for a year. We paid it, but we'll get that money back, and we'll have the utility companies pay for all the stuff that they got going on.
Next question, beginning with candidate Urban, and it's handwriting, so it might. Due to COA under Mayor Urban's watch, stopped managing the previous warming shelter for our unhoused residents at Transportation Center. A local church and volunteers have filled the gap, thankfully, with some city help. Will you commit to increasing the budget for the warming center and continue it next year? Will you also commit that to keeping it open consistently, even when the temperature is not 15 degrees or lower?
The reason that partnership with the church exists because we created that partnership. We put out an RFQ and they answered it because we care about making sure that every person has a warm place to stay when the temperature dips below a certain level. And the reality is we're always going to support that, just like we support Essex House and everything that they do to provide service to their city. We've pushed millions of dollars at Essex House, especially during COVID, to expand, the homeless shelters. But our goal isn't to simply support the homeless shelters. Our goal is to make it so people aren't homeless. So when, we provide these jobs that we're bringing to the city, whether high-paying jobs, medium-paying jobs, those homeless people will be able to, use those jobs. We're going to continue to make sure we provide support to our homeless in times where they need, when it's warm. Matter of fact, we increased our budget to the church when they went over based on the number of cold days that we had. And we'll continue to make sure we protect our interests and our folks here in the city of Aurora, whether bridge or.
And then last year, position on the warming shelters.
Thank you. It's an excellent question. This was certainly a period of tumultuous period for everybody involved. And I was one of the people that were sitting in my living room that responded to a person on that night when people, because of an incident with a gun and an armed individual, came into the warming center at ATC that were kicked out in the cold and worked to set up the temporary warming center at the same church. And I do want to say that this actually reflects a time where the community and the city did work together in a positive, productive partnership. I want to see more of that. And I agree that the long-term solution is to work towards more affordable housing because it's a big step to go from being homeless to paying $1,200, $1,300, or $1,700 a month for an apartment. And so there has to be something in between that's worked out with the community. And again, I would reiterate the need for more better paying jobs. Thank you.
Again, with candidate Lesh. Aurora has moved into an entertainment center. How has this helped Aurora's economic position and can it be expanded?
So I want to just say that I think if you look at what's happened in our downtown area, the current administration, the past administration have both done a pretty good job turning Aurora into an entertainment center. But we are spending $1 to get a dime, number one. Number two, I think that we do need to have a longer term solution and long-term plan to attract a better, more stable economy, what I call an exporter economy, where we're actually producing things that we take to other parts of the country and we sell goods to other parts of the country. So again, it's going to be looking at tech jobs or building in a green building space. That's going to be my focus because if Aurora is at the cutting edge, we're going to have a really good, strong local economy that will benefit all of Aurora for a very long time. And that's going to be my goal. It's not going to happen overnight. There's not going to be a ribbon cutting within 6 months of me being in office, but we need to start down this path and John Lash administration will do that.
Candidate Irvin, same question.
There was a ribbon cutting within 6 months of me being in office, and then every month after that. And every year after that, we've done well over 300 new businesses just in the last couple of years, 3,000 total. So the fact is, we have to paint ourselves an entertainment district. The Hollywood casino is moving out to by the outlet mall. We're going to have 3 urban centers. Downtown is going to be an urban center. The Fox Valley Mall, which generates income second to the Magnificent Mile, and then the new Apex district, Aurora Premier Experience, which includes the casino, a youth sports facility, competition sports facility, as well as the outlet mall. And we have to. That's what is going to grow our city. With the ACA, the Paramount attracts well over 500,000 people to our downtown here. And once we build the City Lights Center, it's going to be 1 million people spending money all along the way.
Next question, beginning with candidate Irvin. Do you support moving council meetings to 7 p.m. to allow for better participation and for greater participation of the working class to attend? Will Facebook streaming be available without comments being disabled?
This is the first administration ever in the history of Aurora that made our city council meetings open to the public. We are the first ones that went on Facebook, because immediately when I took office, I said, look, I want our community to be able to engage and to be be able to make sure that they know what's going on in our city. It never happened before. It didn't happen to the mayor before me, the mayor before that. It happened with me. And I want to continue to improve our ability. Now, whether or not we start at 6 or 7 for city council meetings, we can take a poll for our community to determine whether or not there's an interest. But now the fact that we have this streaming live every single day on Facebook, on YouTube, and our new television station that was paid for by Comcast, not taxpayer dollars, we make it easier for people to watch city council from their living room and experience it right there at home. So whether it's 6 or it's 7, I don't think it's the issue. The issue is making it, transparent and available to our community, which this administration did.
And then the same question.
So the question about moving to 7 PM, I'm open to it. I would want to work with the rest of the other 12 alder people to see where they're at and how it would fit into their schedules. I do agree that what we need to do, whatever we can to increase public participation. Since being on the Aurora City Council, I've posted hot button issues, agenda items to make sure that the community is aware. I haven't always been able to keep up with every meeting. But the other question about Facebook live streaming and opening up public comments, the answer is yes, absolutely. Meeting 1, day 1, we're going to open it up. I believe that we are here to serve the public. And if people come to city council to make a comment and they have something negative to say about what we are doing, or we are doing something wrong, or there's a concern in the neighborhood that wasn't properly vetted, I want to see that issue held. I want to see us meet with the person after the council meeting to see if we can't iron out whatever differences they have and address them. Thank you.
Candidate Lesh, next question. There are talks of recession or worse because of the actions of the federal government. What can the city government do to protect the people of Aurora?
I want to say that I want to be an optimist, but there are certainly tremors. And if our city goes through another recession like it did when I first moved here, I actually bought my house the day that I lost my job here on the east side. So I know exactly what it's like to go through that and to struggle for the next 4 to 5 years just to make sure that I was able to hold and maintain my house. If that happens, number one, you're going to have a steady hand on the wheel, somebody who's not going to be making big gambles with things like the $120 million City of Light Center and expanding things like the Apex Center, but instead pulling back, making sure that we're trimming where we can in our spending with city staff, but to continue to offer high quality services and continue to pursue other avenues of revenue coming from the state, federal government to augment our support, depending on how those governing bodies also respond to the crisis. But if we go through this crisis again,
the reality is we have to be successful despite what's going on in the state government. We know sometimes in Springfield, things don't go the way it's supposed to. So we've got to be successful despite what's going on in the federal government. So we have to be our own independent municipal government, which is what we are. This is a serious job. I'm the CEO of a $750 million organization. This isn't a job for a novice. I was at Alderman for 10 years. I was a lawyer that had my own law practice for 20 years. I was a chairman of a financial institution right here in the city of Aurora dealing with millions of dollars. So I have the experience and know what we need to do to make our economy function and determine what we need to do to make us successful, regardless of what's going on at the state level, regardless of what's going on at the federal level. If we focus on entertainment and grow that and make Aurora entertainment destination, people will come spend money. If we focus on SEE, safety, education, and growing our strong economy, we're going to be successful despite what's going on at the state and federal government level.
Candidate Irvin, can you please tell us how you could stop favoritism and wasteful spending in city government?
So we have a strong procurement process. There is no favoritism. So there's only people that want to do business here in the city. Before I became mayor, no developer wanted to tackle Bloomhaven, the old Copley Hospital, which is now Bloomhaven. Nobody. They wanted to knock it down and build a park. It was going to cost the city of Aurora $15 million just to knock it down and carry all that asbestos away. Nobody wanted to redevelop the terminal building that sat empty for 70 years. No one that wanted to redevelop the Hobbs that sat empty for 50 years. And the Onion Dome that's part of our skyline had crumbled and fall. That building's about to fall over after the last polar vortex that we had, 50 below degree weather, 50 below weather. Nobody wanted to do this. I had to go out and convince people and beat the drum for Aurora and the successes and everything we were about to convince these people to invest tens of millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in the city of Aurora. It doesn't happen by talking about it with rhetoric. It happens by doing it. And I've shown I can do it.
Candidate left, same question. Yes. What can you do to stop favoritism and wasteful spending in city government?
I think I've already talked about a few measures that I would use to cut back on spending. Let me just address one really quick. We have an excessive PR department, and we do an excessive number of ribbon cuttings. I think it is important that we acknowledge our businesses, but that's a place where we can cut back. Number two, I want to bring our website in-house. I'm very aware of competent, capable people that can pull it off. We've spent several years and millions of dollars putting up a website that's very substandard. Number three, we do have two Auroras here. One that works very well for developers, those people who donate, those people are politically connected, and I will be a voice for all of us. I don't take any money from people doing business with the city of Aurora. We're going to put an end to that, and I will represent all of us. Thank you.
Okay. Now beginning with candidate Lesh, it's going to be our final question this evening. There have been 2 or 3 questions on the same topic, and that is ethics. So here's the question. What is your definition of ethical, and how will you work to live up to that definition as mayor?
I feel like this is the 4th time that I've said I don't take any money from people doing business with the city of Aurora. I'm going to work to be transparent. You're going to be able to find my credit card statements and everything online. We do have several transparency portals, but if you look at them, the data is rather scant. I'm going to make sure that we're putting everything out online. I also want to make sure that we're very, very responsive, not only to city needs, but also to FOIA requests, and that we're very open and transparent in that regard. There's almost like standard issue whenever I request information, that there's an automatic 1-week delay, which the state FOIA law allows. And then you get 2 weeks, then you get an email that says, sorry, you're asked for a voluminous report, and we just don't have the data for you. The other thing that I'm going to do in addition to that is have more open public community meetings. I think I've highlighted that a lot, to engage the public about where they want to go in our city. That'll be my first act in office, is to travel around the city, share my vision with the city. I appreciate all of you coming, but
Candidate Irving?
You know, ethics is simply doing what's right. I served my country and went to war for this country. You know, I was the first one in my family to put myself in college. Then I served as a community-based prosecutor first in Cook County, then in Kane County, then right here in Aurora. Then I was an alderman for 10 years. Also as a chairman of a large financial institution. I've been the mayor for the last 8 years with nothing but high ethical standards. Matter of fact, you know, we contracted with DuPage County so they can do our ethical reviews, because we wanted to take them out of the auspices of the city of Aurora, because I didn't want to give the impression that if I had to make the decision, that I would have to make the decision on behalf of aldermen, and half the time on behalf of the mayor. So that's not right. Let's contract with the DuPage County, you know, and make sure that they're the ones that look at the ethical violations. There have been no ethical violations, not one. A whole lot of accusations because of running for office, but not one. See, you grabbing that stop sign. But I'll keep talking. You know, we will continue to make sure we stay work over. Yeah.
We're done. And that is the end of the question and answer portion of this forum. And we now move to the next segment, which is closing statements. And I'm going to give each of the candidates 2 minutes, and we're going to start with candidate Lesh.
I want to thank everybody again for coming tonight. It's important that you're here. I've taken the last 8 months off of work to do this. It's very important to me that I win this election and be a strong voice for our community. I'm ready to lead on day one. I'm ready to listen anytime, and I'm ready to surround myself with smart, ethical people who are just as committed to the city and seeing us succeed. I do not want to tear down the work of the past administrations as much as I do want to move our city forward in the directions that I've articulated here tonight. I also just want to say that, when it came to DuPage County, and I want to flash back to ethics really quick. We had an alderman in the first ward who did not live in his ward. He moved to Ward 5. I did something about it. I contacted the DuPage Ethics Commission. They didn't do anything about it. Other people contacted the administration. They didn't do anything about it. Eventually, we worked with the state's attorney and he was removed, resigned from office. But I can't hold everybody accountable, but I've done my part. And that's how I'm gonna lead, by holding people accountable. And I want to be held accountable through as your next mayor. I just want to highlight too, that our campaign is backed by the people of the city. I think it's pretty impressive that with less than $30,000, and our opponents spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, that we almost won this race. That was so exciting to me. And it gives me hope, because right now what America needs is hope. We see chaos at the national level. People are anxious and worried about their jobs. And you need to know that you've got a steady hand on the wheel. And you have somebody who's gonna fight for you, just like I've been fighting for our community the whole time that I've lived here in the city of Aurora, and continue to do my best job to be a voice for all of us. Thank you. I hope to earn your vote on April 1st.
Thank you. Candidate Urban, your closing statement.
As I said, I'm born and raised in the city. I love the city. I've shown that for the last 8 years by all the successes. I hate to keep repeating that the $2 billion worth of value over the last 8 years, that 20% in property tax reduction, the city's portion. I can't speak for the school district's portion, the township's portion, all the other tax bodies, but the city's portion. And the more economic development we'll do, it'll make it so they don't have to come digging in your pockets for more money as time goes on. We've increased the number of jobs. We've increased the number of good paying jobs and union jobs, thousands of union jobs, thousands since I've become mayor, doing all the development and building here in the city of Aurora, and thousands of permanent jobs. The reality is it's really hard for me to stand up here and have this debate about me, because it's a blow, it's a hit to me. I'm a human being. I got feelings, and when I have someone that has absolutely no experience or background, nothing but rhetoric, pretty words that it reads off a piece of paper, but doesn't understand how basic economy works and how the city works, and even where taxes come from and how it works. That's not good for the city. Yeah, we do need hope, but we need a strong leader to give us hope, not simply to give us empty rhetoric. What we need is results. And I've shown those results year after year after year, balancing our budget every single year for 8 years, balancing it with a $12 million surplus last year. So we're in debt $500 million. And that is because of the state of Illinois and how they run the pensions and pension programs. And not in our control. But guess what? We're still in Springfield lobbying to make sure they change. But Springfield is broken. That's where he worked. He could have fixed things when he was there, but he didn't. But we fixed it here. And we're despite what's going on in Springfield, despite what's going on at the federal level, we will continue to be successful here in Aurora. My name is Richard Urban. I'm running for mayor of Aurora again, and I want to be the mayor.
This concludes the Aurora 2024-2025 mayoral candidate forum. I'd like to close the forum by thanking the candidates and give them a round of applause. I want you all to know both candidates have agreed to stick around for a little while. We'll have to move into the hallway. The library does close promptly at 9, so be respectful of that. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for being here tonight, including those of you who are watching on Facebook. Also, this has been recorded, and so please tell your friends and neighbors and other voters that they can see this entire forum, and it'll be posted in 24 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours, something like that, on the League of Women Voters Aurora Area, Illinois YouTube channel. Finally, I want to remind you to vote on Tuesday, April 1st, and just say thank you very much and have a rest of the night. Thank you.